Hi guys, I'm back again with another review, and I want to share with you I would call it one of the most valuable books that I've read in the last couple of years. This is a time when been introduced to such books as Ovid's Metamorphoses, Don Quixote, Paradise Lost. I'm not saying that it's a book like those, but this book has benefited me as much as those books have, but in a different way. Now, of course, I'm talking about William Baer's Writing Metrical Poetry. This book its subtitle is Contemporary Lessons for Mastering Traditional Forms. Now, like most of you who've gone through university, who've gone through high school, you've heard of things like iambic pentameter, spondees, iambs, and all that stuff. But what are they? I went through high school and university, the basic arts degree thing, and had to take the mandatory English courses or literature courses. And the things were always discussed, but I didn't know what they were. I didn't know what constituted a foot, an iamb, as opposed to a spondee, as opposed to any of the other metrical feet. I didn't know what made a line, what made a verse, what makes any of that stuff. What are the rules and why do they have them? But this book provides an amazing, comprehensive, and comprehensible introduction to all the major poetic forms, and starting with the basics of meter and feet, and discusses rhyming and all the sort of the historical forms like quatrains, couplets, sonnets, tercet, all those things. For me, it finally put all the pieces together. Before I read this book, I couldn't write a standard line of poetry. I didn't understand what it was. I could write things that were, I thought, nice, like nice poems, called free verse or whatever, or blank verse, to write a couplet, to write a sonnet, whatever, to write something in iambic pentameter or tetrameter. I just had no idea. What makes this book so good is it's the examples that it gives, the definitions, the examples, the very slow pace of the lessons. So the chapters are kind of like broken up as lessons. At the end of most of the chapters, it gives you a lesson. So make a poem, write a sonnet, and here's what you need. Here are the possible deviations from that other poets have used in the form in composing with that form. So it's the essential thing, the most important thing in comprehending poetry is understanding the poetic foot. It seems simple after the fact. Just like just like mathematical equations make sense once you finally grasp what they're for, like the quadratic equation, this plus or minus nonsense. What the heck does that mean? And that's just with all of these things. Once you understand them, then it seems obvious after the fact. But again, I'm in my mid-40s. It took me this long to finally get what a poetic foot was. Am I ashamed? Well, maybe. People have told me, and I agree, that when a student doesn't learn something, sometimes it has as much to do with the teacher as it does with the student. Who's more to blame in my case of not understanding what a poetic foot is? I'd say it's probably a case of both. Now, who wants to know what a poetic foot is? That's the problem. How many people want to know how to write a poem today? Poetry is not as popular as it once was. It was everything. In ancient Greece, of course, it was rock star stuff. And in the time of Keats and in the time of Wordsworth or Byron, it could make you a rock star. And Pushkin in Russia, Goethe in Germany, and Shakespeare, and so on. How many people really want to know how to write poetry? In this day and age, let's compare it to painting. I taught myself many years ago how to paint in the style or with the techniques of the the Renaissance masters. How many people paint that way today? Well, I haven't been to an art school, but I assume that I'm sure it's a basic component of painting, and when you learn it in art school. But does everybody follow that method today? Not that I've seen. With poetry today, so many people write blank verse and write in uncustomary forms. And actually, it's popular now to eschew form altogether. That's in painting and that's in poetry today. Whether or not you're a successful artist today, I think depends on whether you've mastered the basics. So have you mastered the techniques of Raphael and Rembrandt in painting, whether you use them or not? For instance, Picasso never used them, and I don't think people like Monet ever used the methods. Well, they probably did in art school, but they didn't use them in their famous works. People and the great poets today are people that know the forms. Don't necessarily employ them though. And someone like T.S. Eliot was a master of deviating from the traditional forms. But you have to master them first. You have to know them, and you have to... But anyway, so I don't want to digress too much there, but if you want to know poetry, if you want to know how to write basic poetic foot, basic line, a basic stanza, or to write a sonnet, any of these things that are really amazing. When I think of the power of certain poems, Keats' Ode to a Nightingale, or Wordsworth's Tintern Abbey, or Coleridge's Ancient Mariner, these are all powerful and beautiful because of the author's use of these basic forms, these basic feet, these basic meters, these basic measures of poetry. So if you have a weekend, if you have a week, if you have a few hours here and there, read this book. It is the most approachable and comprehensible introduction to poetry I've ever come across. And I've been looking for a long time for a book just like this. And when you find the book that you've always wanted to find, it is an amazing and rewarding experience. Anyway, have a great day, guys.